Hello everyone, welcome once again. Last week we looked at strings, and then we looked at some few stuffs in strings like multi-line, arrays, length, and also looping through strings. No, we didn't look at looping, but we'll be looking at looping today. So last week we looked at multi-line, array, length, and also indexing in strings. Today we'll be beginning from looping and look at other methods in strings like using the lower, the upper, the split, the strip, and then the replace. So let's go right into it. So let's say we have a variable called new file. We give it a value called I am getting familiar with writing Python codes. Okay, so we have a string like this. We run it. Python knows what it is done, and then we have already established the fact that when we look at strings can also be arrays. So we can say, okay, let's get the length of this particular string that we have to find the number of characters within the string. We have 50 characters. All right, the next thing that we want to do is that we want to print out each of the characters within the string. To do that, that is where looping comes in. So what we want to do is that we want to say, all right, for each time that it goes into these lists or into this string of characters, what we want to do is that we want to print each of the characters. So in writing them, we can use the for loop. So we can say for AA in here starts for each character within the our string. So for each time it goes into our string, so for each time it goes into our string, what do we want it to do? Anytime the colon here comes here, it means that what we want to do, we've already introduced our statement that we want to do a loop. Now the colon here is saying that what do we want to do when it begins to go through our variable one by one. So we want to print our character one by one. So we have our characters printed for us, even including the spaces in there, the white spaces. Now, assuming you want to take out the white spaces that are in the beginning or at the end of your characters, you use what we call strip. So we'll look at strip very soon. You realize that at the beginning of our character we have an empty space, at the end also we have an empty space. So if you have characters or strings like that, you use a strip in clearing them. So let's look at strips, what they are and how they work. Let me name this my strip should be equal to, let me call my string. So you call your string dot strip. Now what we have done over here is that usually when we talk about using, so what this string over here, it's this strip over here, sorry, is what we called a method, a string method. Now this string method is a method that you use on the class string. So we have a class string and then we have methods that are used on the class string. That is why it is you always have this point sign over here, this dot sign or the period sign, and then once you bring it before your string variable, you call the very method that you want to cast or use against it. Now when we run this, we call this. Now we have the spaces before or in the beginning and the space at the end cleared off. So basically what strip does is that it removes, it's a method that removes any white space from the beginning or the end of our strings. The next thing that we want to look at is using a method like upper. So assuming you have this and then you have a string of code like what we have over here, the next thing that we want to do is that we want to change probably the we want to change all of these to lower cases, we can use the dot lower. So we come in here, we call our string, which is my strip. Then I say, okay, let's change everything in here to a lowercase. When we print it out, we have everything in there changing to lowercase. Now the question is, what if we use dot upper? So let's try it and see what happens when we use the upper method on the string. When we use the upper method, we have everything also being translated to uppercase. So when we use the dot lower on our string, what we are doing is that we are converting the characters in there to a lowercase string. And when we use the dot upper, we are converting all the characters in there to an uppercase string. So we've explored stripe, we've explored lower, we've explored upper. The next thing we want to look at is replace. What does replace do? Let's look at it. So I have in here some empty spaces and white spaces. Now, assuming I want to take out these white spaces, the question is, can replace help us replace these white spaces with closed spaces? Let's get into it. So I have my stripe again. What I want to do is that I want to call the replace method on it. And what the replace method does is that it takes the first character that you want to replace in your string. The first character that I want to replace are white spaces, and I want to replace these white spaces with the new updates that I want to introduce into my string as a replacement for the initial character that I've already stated. I want to introduce close spaces. When I run this is what we have. So the replace works in this way. I'm just putting down the formula for you. So whenever I want to call replace, we have here initial or the original character, then we want our final character to be used as a replacement. So that is all for now on strings. We might probably go into other string methods that we can use, but if not, we'll be looking at other stuff that are quite interesting as well. Till we meet again, bye for now.